Welcome, my friends, wherever in the world you are today. And the topic of today's show is the second in a four-part deep dive into the very popular non-lucrative visa for Spain with our wonderful expert visa and residency specialist, Chris from Upsticks to Spain. We'll be looking at how timing is crucial in the lead up to your visa application and how to get your ducks in a row. You can type in your questions over there on the live chat or in the comments if you're watching back afterwards, and you will get answers from Chris. He's on the front line of immigration on a daily basis, so he's got all of the up-to-date information direct from the horse's mouth. Nay. And we'll be choosing some goodie bag winners later on for the sender of the very best comments and questions, so don't miss that. We'll help you all the way through so you can do the Spain thing too. You are very welcome to U2 Spain. Here comes the theme. Put your earplugs in. Oh, wow. Takes your head off that one. Powerfully groovy. And speaking of groovy, let's welcome Chris from Upsticks. Hola, matey.
How you doing?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. All good here.
Yes. And how do you say it? Feliz Dia de Hispanidad. Today.
Feliz Dia de Hispanidad. Did you see any of the celebrations yesterday?
No. Didn't watch any of it. What was going on then? Tell us a bit about it.
Do you watch the parade? Do you remember the year where the paracaidista hit the lamppost?
No.
They always have the flag of like a military sort of parachutist. Has the flag, and I always remember, it's horrible, you always remember it was just before COVID, and the guy came down and he hit a lamppost in front of the king.
Nasty.
It's terrible for him, and he's just hung there in front of everybody. So now when you watch the parade, every time the paracaidista lands, it's an extra round of applause.
Excellent. So that was in Madrid, presumably.
That was in Madrid, yeah. Lots of applause for the parachutists and lots of boos for Sanchez, apparently.
Brilliant. So, and that is the Spain Day or Hispanicity or something. There's no direct translation, is there? It's the day of Spanishness or something.
Yeah. It was. I saw a bit on the TV, and there was some stuff happening here in the town as well. They do. It's a day to be proud if you're Spanish.
Yeah, and if you're not, it's a day to go out and have some food and have a drink. So.
Probably not a day to go out, actually.
Yeah, there's not much that's open actually, but apart from the restaurants here. Yeah. And okay, so let's have some shout outs. I know you definitely got some of those today.
I have. So we've had some visas in, but I'm going to do those shout outs. I'll be doing them because, to be honest, we've been on a bank holiday today. So I've got to go through those. But we had 2 rejections, which I spoke about on our channel. From Manchester,
the dreaded Manchester.
So we bought the fight to Manchester, and I'm happy to say that both of them within 10 days were overturned and approved. So I'd just like to say congratulations to Julian Graham and Elaine and John, because you now have to go back to Manchester with your passports and get your visas in your passport. But it was a triumph. We were very happy with that.
Excellent. Well done, guys. And we also have to say congratulations to Geoff Day, who I got his permission to say, well done. He's beaten cancer. He had the same kind as I did. And we've been, the 3 of us have all been talking and supporting each other on that. And it's fantastic news. Very happy for him.
Yeah. Well done, Geoff. We worked with Geoff back in 2020, actually. And it's been really nice because a lot of our old clients are coming now for renewals, the 5-year ones. So we're catching up with people, and it's been good of Geoff to tell us about his journey, So well done, mate. Well done.
Yeah. Fantastic. Superb. And still alive, as I used to say. I still do. Okay, let's have a quick hello to everyone joining us on the live chat. Who's there? Paul Cook, as usual. Yes, welcome. Brian in Brisbane. It's 2:00 in the morning in Brisbane. What on earth are you doing? Or are you just still up? You're still up and about. We're getting closer to our decision to move. Good, good, good. It'll be nice to have you over here. And Anton cares, hola todos, just in time from mowing, as it's a lovely day today. We all seem to have good weather right at the moment.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Nice mid-October weather. It feels, it doesn't even feel like autumn quite yet, although you've got the colours on the mountainside that are definitely autumn colours at the moment, but this still feels like a British summer,
29 today. It is, I think. I mean, I don't know. It seems to be very warm for the time of the year, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely sitting at the restaurant this afternoon. I was in the sun, and Liz and Oscar were sitting there in the shade. I was baking, so it was lovely. Just had my hat on though. Yeah, so everybody else who's joined us, I know there's more people than that who are actually with us, so definitely put a message in the live chat there, and we can get straight on to the topic while we wait for you all. So this is part 2 in this series that we're doing about the non-lucrative visa, and Chris will be with us for every 2 weeks. Today we're looking at the period from 1 year before your date of moving up to the time when you start to make your visa appointment, which can be around 3 months before you leave. So, Chris, I imagine a lot of people contact you when they've got a year to go. This seems to be a time when they'll start panicking and worrying about it. How do you prepare them for what's coming?
Yeah, so you've sort of got. I've written it in sort of two sort of stages. So you've got the personal stage, shall we say, and then you've got the practical stage of getting the paperwork together.
Okay, let's do the practical stage then, because I've got some questions about the human part later on.
Brilliant, excellent. So in terms of the practical stage, this is where you start looking at nailing down your timeline, and you start looking at the what the variables are, and how that sort of timeline is going to affect your move. So if you're about a year off, most people, as we know, are affected by the decision of the fiscal year. So this is where most people now are getting a sort of handle on, hang on a minute, we've got to make sure that we move around this time. Okay, so, things like capital gains, pensions, a lot of people in the NLV are retiring, money and cleaning up your financial affairs may mean that you've decided to come towards the back end of the year, rather than coming at the beginning of the year and being a fiscal resident in Spain. As we say, the fiscal year is between January the 1st and the 31st of December. So you have some great tax advisors on here, so we're not going to go into that, but it is commonly known that if you spend more than 183 days in Spain, during that time you become a fiscal resident. So most people's timeline is dictated by that. So you sort of have this sort of 2 tiers of when people are coming over, because a lot of people now are looking at going, I'm not going to get my ducks in a row before the end of the year, so I'm going to leave it until the end of next year. And there's a lot of people who actually look at it and go, oh, I can squeeze that in, and I can actually get there for around the 1st of January, enjoy a whole year, So to do that sort of planning, you need to look at the validity of the documents. Okay, at the moment, how they're being accepted at the consulate, so when you need to start ordering them. So once you've got your plan, which is quite often fiscally based, you really need to start to set a sort of a rough pill in the calendar as your target appointment date. Okay, and the target appointment date, you have to bear in mind that the consulate can take up to 3 months after that in Manchester. Manchester. So every time I just get a headache every time I say Manchester. In some cases more, but no, let's call it 3 months afterwards. But that is sort of a maximum amount of time to get your visa. Let's go.
So what's your advice then? If you've got to make an assumption that it's going to come in maybe a month and a half or something like that.
Yeah. So what we do first of all, we have a look at so we have set the pin in the calendar. Okay, and that's where you time backwards when you need to start ordering your documents.
Okay.
So, and you look at your flexibility then after that point. So the validity of the documents are The most important ones are the marriage certificate. If you need a marriage certificate, that needs to be updated. If it's from the UK, apostilled and translated. It's ridiculous because in Spanish, authorities believe if you have a duplicate of your marriage certificate with an updated date on it, which is your duplicate date, that proves you're still married. It doesn't. You know, many people could get 5 or 6 of those, but you know, it doesn't. But anyway, you might have to get one that has a validity of 90 days still. For things like the DMB, that has been extended for 6 months, but it still states it's 90 days for the NLV. The medical certificate, which is the proof that you have no exportable diseases, okay, which is another document which will require, if it's produced in the UK, an apostille and maybe a translation. A lot of companies actually already do them in Spanish. That has a validity of 90 days as well. Okay, so if you've got your PIN in the calendar, then you really can't start ordering those documents. I would say at least until 60 days before your PIN, because that also gives you a 30-day flexible period afterwards in case you have to move your appointment. Your ACRO, which is the document which takes the longest to come through, that can take up to 30 days to come through, that actually has a 6-month validity. So that was most possibly going to be the first document you can get out the starting blocks before once you've got your PIN in the calendar.
So have you got kind of a series of pins in the calendar for all of these different things?
Yeah. So like what we normally do is what we normally do with our clients, we'll have that talk beforehand and we'll say, okay, we have a follow-up for a certain time in the year. And then once we have the follow-up, we'll get hold of our potential clients. So you're ready to get started. They normally get started. And then we have that call where we go, right, let's start nailing down the dates in which we need to do things. So once you've basically got those sort of dates with your time sensitive documents, then everything else falls around that. And then to answer your question regarding how do you judge how long it takes to come out at the end, that's why I started doing the weekly updates, to literally just keep people a handle on how long things are taking at the moment. But this very much falls into your living arrangements. Now, the biggest problems that we have talking to people and the biggest confusion with the timeline is when do I sell my property? Can I sell my property? Can I sell my property and go for the visa? What happens if I don't sell my property and it goes into the next year? You know, things like that. And what I can tell you is that people who have an easier ride, okay, when it comes to less stressful, is people who arrange to sell their property and maybe go into temporary accommodation and get that basically over the line, know that they're fiscally not at risk with anything, can have temporary accommodation, which means they have somewhere to stay, hoping it's as flexible as possible while they're waiting for their visa. Which always brings you to that question of, well, hang on a minute, what happens if I don't get my visa? Well, it's a huge commitment. We know a lot of people depend on the funds from the property to get the visa, and you also have to give up work before you even apply. But that's just the way it is, I'm afraid.
It's a dangerous thing, isn't it? You might end up with no house, no job, and just hanging there thinking, now I can't go to Spain, what do I do next? So that's the big fear, isn't it? That's the big stress causer.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if less, the big red, I say, that's where, again, a year before, you need to be looking at your red flag. The red flags are, the big red flags are financials, making sure you've got your financials in order. And this is where you can also, at the beginning of the year, you can start planning that. Healthcare as well, making sure you can get healthcare coverage, and then criminal records, obviously. If you think you've got any sort of criminal record, then you really need to be looking at getting an ACRO just to make sure what's on there, really.
Yes, good point. Just say hello from Patrick O'Connell, who's with us from Bolivia, where it's just after midday. Lovely. And Brian in Brisbane has a question. Let's put this one up on screen. The Australian marriage certificate, is the 90-day validity also applicable to our Australian marriage certificate? Thank you.
Yep.
Thought so, yeah. So it's the same for every marriage certificate. suppose the difficulty is, depending on where you are, it depends on how long it takes you to get your marriage certificate. Or if you might be from the UK and you went and got married in Malaysia or something like that, then you might have a problem getting a copy.
The marriage certificate is always one of those it depends, like your T-shirt documents. It's a real pain in the registry. So it's one of those where the British, you can do an NLV without one, believe it or not. Okay, you really can if you've got joint accounts and you can prove that you live together. There's nothing. But then, for example, in the 2 rejections that we got from Manchester, okay, they actually sent rejection letters back quoting that the people didn't meet, the clients didn't meet a 400% EPRIM, and it's almost as though they rejected them as individuals, and they're applying as a couple, and they sent the marriage certificate back with the same letter. So obviously we went to town, wrote an appeal, and sent them the marriage certificate back, and went, look at that again, and look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and they were like, it's almost as though they went, oh, they're a couple. Well, yeah, have your visas. So I always advise, if you can get one, then certainly do it. And this is becoming also regular advice for the renewals, where it wasn't before, but we've seen them more and more that they're being requested.
Anton Cares saying capital gains tax very apt here, awaiting government decisions whilst the government is in turmoil. They're in France, by the way. Every few weeks a new prime minister. The last one lasted just days before resigning. Guess who the new prime minister is? The same guy, a real French farce. And he says later, as you can guess, our timeline is impossible to know. Yeah, what a nightmare for the French at the moment. What is it, five prime ministers in the last few years? It's just madness. Or is it presidents? They keep changing one or the other.
It's presidents, isn't it? Is it presidents in?
Yeah, I think it's presidents that keep changing. It was the president who resigned recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, madness. And by the way, viewers, don't forget to check out Chris's Upsticks website and YouTube channel, and the links are in the video description below, and I've pinned it to the top comment as well, and you can find lots and lots of articles and videos to help you out. And there's a live update that's every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Spanish time, and this week's looks like that. Oh, we've disappeared from the screen. Let's get back on the screen. There we are. Yeah, that's the weekly update, and it's lots of fun as well as being informative. 6 p.m. Spanish time on Wednesday, and this week he's got a very special guest. Who's that? Tell us all about that, Chris.
I've got this guy who just dances around Computer all the time in various areas in the secure area. Who could that be?
Yeah, just some musician idiot. I don't know. I can't imagine.
Are you going to play a tune for us when you come on?
Oh, you never know. I've got my guitar in the office, so I've not done that yet. I think I did it on. I think I did one show about three years ago or something where I actually played the guitar live, and that was fun.
Get the guitar out.
So,
get the guitar out. It's all a bit of fun on the weekly update.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay then. Let's get that sorted out. And also, viewers, don't forget the QR code in the corner. I desperately need a coffee. There's a super link, by the way, in the video description below. Not many people have gone on the super link. It says it's just below the video description. And if you learned something of value to you today, or if you're entertained, then use the link to donate a cup of coffee, or 3 or 5, and whatever you think today's show is worth to you. There we go. So, Anton Kerr says, will we be any the wiser when we meet up? Question for the champions. Yes, we're meeting up with Anton Kerr for a special birthday in the new year. That's going to be lovely. He is on Prime Minister number 8. 7 and 8 are the same guy. Oh, so he resigned and then he's come back in again. Good Lord, what a mess.
Yeah,
I didn't know you could do that. It's the French way, isn't it? They just make the rules up as they go along. Anyway, so let's continue. There was this common phrase that we've already said, and it depends, that we talked about on 2 weeks ago. And you, Chris, introduced us to another phrase years ago, which is also very important. That is, get your ducks in a row, which is all about planning your timeline and getting your documents sorted out. You've already talked a bit through the timeline. Take us through the rest of that.
So yeah, so we've spoken about that pin in the calendar where you're saying, okay, so I understand the tax liabilities. I understand what I actually have to do to make sure I don't have any tax liabilities, like selling my house, cashing a pension in, and then having that pin in the calendar afterwards. I now understand the validity of my documents, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself and order documents. A lot of people's biggest thing is, what can I do now? And it's like, don't do anything. Don't do anything. You're going to put yourself under unnecessary pressure to get there. Let's make sure we've got the longevity in the documents which encompass that pin in the calendar. So then jumping back, you're a year before, but you're chomping at the bit, and a year can go quite quickly. You think, what can you do? Well, now you've got that sort of pin in the calendar structure organized. First thing is, obviously, as we spoke about accommodation, what you're going to be doing. Are you going to be targeting selling your house and going for temporary accommodation? If you're lucky enough to have accommodation in Spain, okay, make sure you take into account the days that you plan on spending in Spain during that year.
Because you could do your CGT in, couldn't you? You could
do your CGT in. So this is all things that you need to be looking at and taking into account that window after you've applied. And then one of the big things you can do a year out is also take a good strong look at your financial structure and work out, okay, so my plan is to do X when I apply. So maybe I'm going to be selling a house. That's going to be funding the visa. I need to give up my job at this point, and then that money is going to be in the bank. Or it might be I'm cashing in the pension, or it might be I have pensions, but I've got 5 pensions and they're going into 5 different accounts. Okay. And so the only advice we can give, because obviously everybody's circumstance is individual, is after the new law, which was introduced on the 20th of May this year, actually came into force in November, but introduced in May, is the simpler, the better. Okay. So all the problems and questions we've had both with initial applications and with renewals, it's almost like sometimes they haven't read the documents, or if they get more than one account, they're just like, oh, forget it. Okay. And then when we go in with a very simple but structured letter saying A, B, C equals D, they're like, like we just did for the appeals. So if anything you could do to simplify your financial structure at the time of actually presenting it to the consulate is a very good idea. So keeping all your cash assets in one place, if that's what you're going to be using, or say, for example, you're going to be selling a property and that money is going to be going into an account. A lot of people ask, well, doesn't it have to be in this for a certain amount of time? It doesn't if you can prove the origin of the funds, but make sure that your lawyer knows that you're going to need a very good completion statement on headed paper, and keep that account nice. If there's any passive income you're going to be using as well, all in one place.
Very good. Ray Jessup has a question about the S1. Just before that, we'll answer that. I just wanted to pass on greetings from one of my regular guests, who's part of the network of experts that U2 Spain and Upsticks have. She is Charisse, the Spanish lawyer. She's going to be on the show on November the 3rd, so don't miss that one. But she said, pass on the message, please. Feliz Dia de Hispanidad to you all. And in celebration of this holiday, she's offering watchers of this show a free first consultation. And she specialises in immigration law, property law, and a few other things. And her details are in the video description below, just underneath Chris's details. And it'll be in the top comment as well. So make sure you mention U2 Spain when you get in touch. And I look forward to speaking to her on November the 3rd. And lovely. So Ray Jessup's question was this. Thanks to Brian in Brisbane, by the way, for the donation. And Ray says, do you have anyone using an S1 instead of private health insurance to gain the visa? Has that been a problem?
Yes. No, sorry, it's not been a problem. And yes, we do have people using it. Now, the problem with the S1 was the first couple of years with the NLV, and then it sort of settled down. And now there is a system where you do not need private health insurance if you can get an S1 and you have you have somebody who's a beneficiary of your S1. So maybe if you're married, one of you is a state retiree and your partner or spouse isn't, then you can both actually come in on the S1. What you'll notice is when you go to order your S1s, there'll be one for the actual main applicant or the beneficiary, shall we say, of the state healthcare, and you'll get a separate document which will show the beneficiary, so the person who's receiving the state healthcare and the beneficiary of that person. Yeah, so you need two documents. You don't just get one and the other person automatically gets it. You have to go for this ridiculous, like, sort of false registration. We call it a pre-registration. So basically, before you apply for your visa, you register your S1 online with the Social Security. The Social Security then, and you get a document which proves that you've registered it. That goes with your S1, and then you go to the consulate and they're happy with that. Okay. That registration, the likelihood is it will be rejected because you haven't got a residency card, a Padron certificate and everything to approve it. Okay. But that keeps the consulate happy. We have visas approved. Then when you come to Spain, what will happen is that initial registration either would have been rejected, archived, or just left there sitting. And then when we get the paperwork, we complete the application for you and get your healthcare. And that can be used subsequently for renewals as well.
And the pre-registration comes in handy.
Yes, you need that.
Yeah,
you have to have the pre-registration. You can do it yourself on the Social Security website, or like obviously evidently for our clients, we do it for them. It just means that when we do it for our clients, that when the Social Security come back and say, like they do, oh, well, you haven't handed in the Padron, like we know, because they still live in the UK. So yeah, but yeah, you can definitely get a visa with an S1.
Brilliant. And whereabouts in the timeline do you stick the pin for that one, for applying for your S1?
Now, this is a good question, because the S1 is definitely a 90-day document, but when you go to see, the problem is the pensions authorities in the UK do not understand the visa process. So you're going to phone up, or you're going to do an email application for your S1, and they will request a day that you're moving. And I don't know, because who knows how long the visa is going to be and how long Manchester are going to take. But so what we always tell people, and this always works every single time it works, is use that pin in the calendar, your target appointment date. Okay, use that to get your S1 as your move date, because in theory you could get your visa 3 or 4 days later. Okay, we have had them through London in less than 10 days. So use that when they ask you what date are you moving to Spain, well, the date that you're actually applying, as long as it's within 90 days, then you'll get your S1 issued. And then after that, you'll have no problem. If you does take a lot longer than that to register it in Spain, there's never a problem, but you do need to give them that date.
Madness. It's all madness. This moving of the goalposts, it must be a nightmare. Do you have to move a series of pins, or is it all done on some kind of spreadsheet? I bet you do that, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You know, we do. We have our reminders and on our CRM. And then obviously just a very important point with the S1 as well is make sure before you get your S1, you update your GHIT card. So you've got because when you get your S1, this is the problem. When you get your S1, they immediately tell you have to hand back your GHIT card because you've now got coverage in Spain.
Okay.
But you don't.
No.
You don't. So you've got to get coverage in Spain after you've got your TIE card and your Padron, then hand back your GHIT card, and then you can get your European health card from Spain. So you're always covered when you travel elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to just make sure you get that timing right. And it's because the pensions authorities and the Spanish Social Security don't really understand the visa process. And why would they?
No. They don't know how to get your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
At all.
So we sort of manage that.
Yeah. And can I say docs? Is that docs or doctors? Doctors and ducks. Documents and ducks lined up. And Antonio is booked. Antonio's our communal Hestor, by the way, another one of the network. And canst do no more for now. Yes, que sera. Absolutely. That's you've just got to hold on in there, haven't you? Have you set yourself an application date? I don't suppose you have you? There. the eternal problem. So anything else about that you have to do document wise before you get to the 3 months?
No, I mean, so before you get that 3 months beforehand, it's advisable not to get any of your documents lined up, because they may expire. You know, there is some people do look at the passport longevity and think, we've got 18 months left on that. Do you know what? I'm going to renew it early.
Good plan.
Okay, which means that there's not a problem when you apply. You need a full year on your passport, and make sure you've got at least a page to put the visa in. So 2 pages free, which is very rare that anybody doesn't have that, unless you're a frequent traveller. But you may want to, if you're getting close to expiring the passport, you may want to bring that forward and get yourself a nice clean passport for the following for 10 years, which means when you do your renewals, you'll never have to submit an old and a new passport, which isn't a problem. It's just one thing less to do.
Brilliant. Right, so that's about that with that section. One thing I found that I mentioned on the last show, I'll just repeat it. It can be really advantageous to get your currency exchange sorted out, and we talked about the finances that you've got to get, make sure that you've got the financial requirement. But it's a good idea to know how many euros you're going to have when you arrive, and if you sort out your currency exchange plan enough in advance, then you can kind of choose the rates as they go up and down. You can pin yourself a nice rate when it hits a good one, because at the moment it's down at less than 1.15, and there's a chance we've got the budget coming up soon as well in the UK, so there's a chance that the pound's going to go down again. And it's all very well saying, I'll just use one of those online bank cards. But that means you're responsible with finding that date and then exchanging all of your money at that point when there's a good rate. And you might still have 3, 4, 5 months to go. So what the best way to do is use a currency exchange company. And I recommend Smart Currency Exchange, obviously, as most of our regular watchers know. And I did a show with Rory from Smart Currency Exchange last week, and they're doing a special limited time special offer for U2 Spain watches. So if you use the link in the video description below, start your account early, get the special offer, meet your own personal broker, and there's no obligation at the time, but you'll be helping U2 Spain as well at no cost to you. And I'll put that little thing up in there because it's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. There you go, a little plug for them as well. Let's talk about what can go wrong. What are the things that people get wrong during the lead up to applying for their visa, apart from trying to get your documents early? I suppose that's the most common mistake, is it?
Yeah, trying to get your documents early is probably the most common mistake. I mean, the biggest one, which is the most unpredictable one, is selling properties. It's trying to really, this is where we're getting to the, this time of the year is the difficult time when people asking you questions you just can't answer. Their answer is, if your property doesn't go through before the end of the year, you're going to have to wait until next year and completely change your timeline. That's basic answer, so that's the one thing which is really difficult. So that's, again, how do you judge that? Which depends where you're selling. A lot of people have properties in you've got to do a risk assessment with a local estate agent and just find out what is the likelihood of this property going through at the time that we want it to fit into our timeline. And then obviously the other thing that you need to look at is we've done the assessment. You definitely can get a visa. There's a few bits of paper to do beforehand. You've got your timeline, but then what happens when you get here? Okay, and there's that frustrating time where the year before you've got your pin in the calendar. You can't really start your documents from up to 3 months before that pin, apart from the acro, but you really don't need to anyway. And you've got that 9-month period. And what do you do? So, this is where you can start preempting any mistakes by doing stuff that we're not going to tell you to do. Okay, maybe stuff we can't tell you to do. So, look, basically filling your black book up with your resources from your local area. So that is binge watching YouTube, making sure you contact local estate agents who will probably tell you, I'm not interested until you move over here, but it doesn't matter, because just get your list of people. So you've literally got your hit list. So when you arrive, you don't arrive with a visa in your hand and go, what's next. You need to try and familiarize yourself with where you're going to be living. You should be learning your Spanish at this point as well.
Yeah, this is the human angle. I've got a whole list. I talked over it with Liz. No, it's okay. You've just hit the list at the right time. It's the next thing on my screen. So
it's that part. This is why, and this is why while we've been doing the updates as well, while we always get together here, is there's certain things that I don't know sat behind this desk, about Torrevieja, for example, that's the 9 months to really start getting your resources together, and just putting I always call it the black book. Get the black book, write everything down, and try and find out, because there's a lot more to it than just getting the visa. That is, I wouldn't say that's the easy bit, but with the right guidance, that's the practical bit, and then this human element.
Yeah, it is. There's lots of things. I'll briefly go through this list, and you can chip in as we go through it. You've mentioned a few things. There's things like what are you going to take with you? What belongings are you going to take, and how much are you going to fill a big removal lorry? Or do you want to take a small one and buy things when you get over here? You've got to think about what, if you're coming over from the UK, you might have to pay some customs duty, and you've got to discuss that with various different removals companies to make sure that they know what they're doing. And there's a huge difference in the amount that you can pay removals companies, from the smaller guys up to the the international ones that can sometimes give you a part load on a massive lorry, that but you've got less of a choice of the exact date when your stuff goes over there. And isn't there something to do with you've got to have you got to move at a similar time to when your stuff gets there, or something like that?
This is a huge part of the timeline. I have this conversation with people all the time. So when we do the cars, for example, the cars drive over, so there's no tax at the border, because you're driving over. You're essentially a tourist when you come over. Okay, you might have your tourist boot full, but you're a tourist. We're not talking about transporting goods at the moment, just a few, maletas, cases. And when we get here, the asset is here. Then we're doing your IT, you're doing your TIE, your Padron. We go to customs and say, "Oi, we want to declare this for change of residence. Here's all the paperwork. We'll have that import for free. Thank you very much." It doesn't work with your personal goods like that. So now we don't get involved in the transportation, but we can certainly tell you what we've seen a million times. And the problem is that whoever brings your goods into Spain, they're going to go through customs, and you've got two things. You can either pay tax and duty, or you can waive the tax and duty. Now, as per the CARS, to waive the tax and duty, you need the paperwork in place to prove that you're moving to Spain, and a visa alone isn't enough. You have to have your TIE card registered, and you also have to have the Padron certificate. Minimum. We have to present a lot more for the CARS as well. All right. So when you're maybe bringing the stuff either at the same time you're moving with just the visa, or you're sending your stuff forward, so you've got it when you get to Spain, maybe you're furnishing a house that you own, then the likelihood is you're going to have to pay tax on that. And a lot of transport companies say, "Don't worry, you can claim that back." I've never seen anybody else get it back. The taxman doesn't give money back. It comes through it quickly, but doesn't give it back. Here, it's very difficult, that process. So, but what is the alternative? The alternative is that you put your stuff into storage in the UK and then bring it over tax-free once you've got your ducks in a row over here. And a lot of the time, speaking to clients, I said, "You know what? The transport guy said it was going to be €500 from the itinerary, and we looked at storage, it was going to be $3,500. So we just pay the tax. It's a write-off and part of our budget, and that's it." So it can be, or you just minimalize what you bring over with you and stick it in the boot of your car. 2 Ryanair bags.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're moving from the US or Canada or somewhere like that, or Australia, yeah, it's going to cost you even more to transport the stuff. The more you've got, then it could be a huge amount. So it's even more important. Don't bring your white goods across, especially from the US, different voltages and everything. So yeah, it's best to buy stuff when you're here, and you don't necessarily know, unless you've already got your property here, you don't necessarily know what kind of house you're going to get, what size the rooms are, what size the kitchen space is to slot your things into. So you may as well get something that's the style of the house, in which case just buy it here.
Yeah, I don't white goods. Nobody brings white goods unless it's something you're particularly fond of, or something very specialised, maybe kitchen equipment that you can't get. But general white goods or anything that's not. I always look at stuff which is, has sentimental value, and be extremely harsh on everything else.
Yeah. Bring as little as possible. I think we brought too much. I've still got stuff in storage. It's just down below me now that I haven't opened. There's boxes that are still unopened. Should have just got it sorted and got rid of it before.
Yeah, so
before
name
leaving,
one
really.
thing that's in them. We did that when we moved. I moved 3 kilometres down the road, had a whole van of stuff. We went, we'll put that in that room there, and we'll organise it at a later date.
Yeah.
4 years later,
You've still got one room full of stuff.
couldn't tell you what was in any of the boxes.
No, absolutely. So what else have I got on this list? So yeah, Spanish car, driving license swap. That's not something you really need to do anything about in advance, but it's worth knowing the
If
sort
that
of timeline when you get here.
beforehand, your license is coming up for renewal, it's probably best to get it renewed and come with a nice clean license. That 9-month period we're talking about, where your passport may be expiring as well. Good to come with a nice, if you can get a license with a lot of longevity, because if you come take residency and then accidentally renew your license afterwards, thinking I need to renew it before I exchange it, then you could have a big problem.
Yes,
you have to renew it in the country where you're resident. So it's actually easier to renew an expired license in Spain than it is if you've renewed it once you've taken residency. So you have to be aware of that.
very good point. I didn't even think of that. There we go. So let's see, learn the language. Yes, you've mentioned that. Get that started, a couple of years in advance. And although you've got to bear in mind that doing it on apps and online is not going to be the same as when you throw yourself in at the deep end in a room full of Spanish people.
Post-it notes.
Yeah, post-it note. You had a little book, didn't you? Oh yeah, post-it notes all over your furniture and everything. So that's one thing I never did.
Stick them on your husband, on your wife.
Yeah, cover them with
on the
notes.
car. Have it all over your car. That's steering wheel. I'm telling you now, if you read a word 20 times or have a really annoying post-it note you want to rip off of an item, so it's a microwave and you put microondas on it, I guarantee once you've read it 20 times, you've gone to the microwave, that will be stored there. You might not have it straight away. Try, in fact, forget it. I always say try and forget it then. It will be there somewhere. And
that's all right for names of things. How do you do it with verbs?
You could do it. Yeah, you could do it. Yeah, run. Stick it on someone's back and pick up the backside and they run off. There you go, run.
Yeah, that's a good way of remembering it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What else have we got here? It's not a holiday anymore. That's one of the psychological things that you've got to get used to. Although, don't forget to enjoy yourself. That's one thing that you said, because in all of this panic, don't forget to remember why you're doing this in the first place, because of the lovely relaxed way of life, which it won't be for the first few months, but make time in that process when you're waiting for something to happen, when you've got a week, when you're going, oh, this is not happening yet because I can't do this and this. Well, just take a few days off, just relax. But just do remember, it's not a holiday anymore. It's going to feel a little bit like a holiday when you arrive, but it will gradually turn into, well, this is where we live now. This is normal life. And the honeymoon period will gradually wear off, and then you have to deal with the local bureaucracy.
It's like that. It's like the advert. Do you remember the old advert when I was a kid? The road safety advert was just stop, look, listen.
Yeah.
That's what I said. That's what you got to do. Just stop, look, and listen. Just chill.
It's nice one.
Once you just, always say to people, Jane's a big advocate of it as well. I know when people have got their TIE card appointments, for example, it's always in a big city. It's like, look, this is an hour out of your day. It's going to be horrible fingerprints, so many police station queues and folders. But after that,
Mm-hmm.
You know, stay over the night, enjoy, celebrate. Don't just treat it as a administrative exercise and get back to where you're staying. Just enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was that one. And I put a note here saying something will always go wrong.
Mhm.
You know, that's not pessimistic, that's just practical. Be prepared financially, have a backup plan, have an amount of money in a bank account that you go, that's going to be spent because we don't know what's going to happen. Something will happen. Our car broke down not long after we arrived in Spain, and we ended up having to spend loads of money on a hotel. We did have insurance to cover it, but they didn't give us it all back. We had to end up paying for some of the car repair and some of the hotel and some taxis and all kinds of stuff. And we had to eventually get another vehicle to drive down here with all of our stuff because we'd packed a car full of way too much stuff. And then I had to fly back up to Bilbao and get a taxi and not get it, yeah, get a taxi to where the car was, and then drive down with the car all on my own for 10 hours to arrive. And you know, so that was the first 4 days, well, the first week and a half really, after arriving. So yeah, be prepared with a backup plan, even though you don't know what it is that's going to go wrong. And I'd say in advance as well, try to visit in advance, bearing in mind that you don't want to use up too many days with your capital gains tax in mind, if that's one of your issues, if you're buying a place or selling a place, because it's a good idea to know, have a narrowed down area of where you want to live. Spain is really huge, different seasons, different places to live where you can be quite far away from the facilities that you need to use when you're here. So I was saying with Liz, well, maybe it's a good idea to make a checklist of what your priorities are when you're living in Spain. You know, do you need to be near the airport, for example? If loads of people have promised to come and visit you, then make sure you know which airport they'll be coming in at. Like, for example, we were thinking of moving into the Granada province, but you can't fly into Granada from many places near where we used to live in the UK or Ireland. So Malaga was much more accessible. So that changed the area that we were going to move to. And when we arrived, we stayed in the Granada province. So we ended up having to drive down to the Malaga province every day and then drive back again, which was in some places, you know, an hour and a half both ways. So we were spending 3 hours a day just driving, just trying to find a place where we were going to settle down. So yeah, it's a good idea to come over to Spain a few times beforehand and be aware of what feels like the right place. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's I think that, you know, a lot of the time, especially there's certain TV programs that have, you know, hillside houses for 70,000 euros, which have amazing views, but
yeah, lovely.
It
Yeah,
felt good when you stood there at the window, but then in a 42-minute hike to get to it when you've parked up at the bottom with your water from Mercadona is a nightmare. But
yeah, and wait till the removal van gets there and goes, no, there's no way I can get up there. You're gonna have to carry everything up the hill. Yeah, that's a nightmare. There's a lovely village of Corumbella just on the opposite side of the valley from us, and we looked at it and went, oh yeah, that's just lovely. But there's one shop, one bar, and that's it. And it's a wiggly, windy road, and it's probably about half an hour from where we are now. So to get down to the coast, so it's like an hour and 25 minutes, another 25 minutes to Malaga. So it'd be an absolute nightmare. You know, to get to the hospital, 45 minutes that's just to the local one. But if you needed to get to Malaga Hospital, yeah.
Yeah, and also look at, I mean, it's a mistake we made in our 20s many years ago. So also look when we bought a house, and you know, when we bought the house and a townhouse, which lovely street, the neighbours were retirees, you know, guy was in his mid-70s and, you know, strong as an ox, and then, you know, the neighbours had a small kids next door and, you know, whatever, and it was very busy and lively and it was good. But, you know, Spanish tend to stay in their houses quite a bit, you know. So what happened with us was we got older. We decided we wanted to have kids. And then, unfortunately, the guys next door, they passed on because they reached their 80s. That house, the kids didn't want it. That house ended up being closed up and abandoned, you know, more or less just with a TV on a timer. The house down the bottom, the family decided to move out, and then at the top, the kids got older. They all left. Suddenly, with this dead street, which was then a family moved in right at the top, which had 18 kids, and suddenly, you know, we were like, well, hey, this could be a hard house to sell, you know. So, you know, you've got to try, and I'm not saying, and no one knows what's going to happen in the future, but if you are moving into maybe a Spanish village and one of the townhouses, just look at the demographic of the things around you. And, you know, if there is just that one shop, it's a horrible thing to say, but it does happen. I've seen it so many times. That one shop, and the person who's running it doesn't look like there's going to be any heirs to take over. You know, in 5 years' time, that shop might be closed. You know, if you're dependent on that one shop, and, you know, and we live in this world now where Mercadona are taking over the world, well, you know, just check out. It might be idealistic when you're actually there, you know, but just check out the demographic of everybody who's living in the area and see, what will this be like in 10 or 15 years' time? You know?
Absolutely. Oh, Anton Kez was saying the only current good thing is we don't need an NLV. Good point. Yes, you have EU citizenship there, and it says when it happens, when they move, it's going to be 1 portable office in a rucksack and 2 maletas ropas, clothes, suitcases under our own steam. Yeah, you can. That's the good thing, to be able to just drive straight down through France. Paul Cook has a question about health insurance. This is a good one. If you can get the Convenio Especial, is that only after 1 year of being a resident?
Yes, so this is why most people end up having 2 years worth of private health insurance, because you can only get it after you've been a resident for a year. Okay, so been a resident for 12 months, but they will take, this is where it can be slightly confusing and where you have to be a bit careful, because they will take the first date of being on the Padron in a lot of regions as your first date of residency.
Oh, okay.
Because I recently had a client who managed to get in the Convenio Especial before their first year TIE card ran out. I said, how'd you do that? Looking at the Padron and then looking at the resolution of the Convenio, it turns out that's the date that they took. So, but what happens then is if that date, if you get your resolution, but you actually haven't been registered and your healthcare is due to be renewed and you haven't quite got your Convenio in place before the healthcare expires, then you can't have any gaps. So you've got to be really, really careful with the timing. So the safest way is to get the year under your belt, pay for your healthcare renewal, then maybe apply for the Convenio Especial halfway through the following year, because you don't want to apply for it too early and pay double, because you'll be paid Convenio and private. And then just be prepared that if you go halfway through the year, I think they've got up to 90 days to respond. You get your Convenio in place. You've still got 3 months on your private healthcare. You're going to be paying double for a bit, but then you've got to give them 2 months notice most of the time anyway, and you can ease into the public service.
Yeah, nice one. And like I said, despite the obstacles, we're really looking forward to the whole thing. Viva España! Absolutely. Let's see if we've got any more things on my little list. Liz was saying banks, get your bank sorted out in advance, although I would say actually wait until you get here, wait until you've chosen your house, because you're going to want to speak to your bank manager. The best advice I got was choose your bank manager, not your bank, because you will hear, if anybody says, oh yeah, Santander is the best, and then somebody else will say, oh no, they're awful. And the reason is it's a different Santander branch. One of them's got a good manager, the other one hasn't. And a manager can actually get you a deal. They do have some leeway to what kind of charges are going on and what how they can treat people. That's what we found when we moved to Compita. We found there was a good bank manager there in one of the banks, and they did us a good deal. Basically, we started off with a non-residence account because we hadn't yet got sorted out our residency, and he just said, it's all right, we'll waive the charges on that account because we know you're moving in, and that's what he did. So we managed to avoid some bank charges. Yes, absolutely. So
and you're right there as well, especially from a sort of point of view as well, because, you know, in the UK there's very few branches. It's just coming from somebody who sounds. I'm telling people to get bank stamps all the time because that's what the consulates are asked for, and I sound like an idiot. They're like, "Where from?" I'm like, "I don't know," So we're trying to get ways around it, and we did get written confirmation from Edinburgh via email. They don't ask for them, so that's good. But here in Spain, it's very different, and the bank manager is certainly. God forbid that something happened when you were over here, and somebody passed away or something. But if you've got a good relationship with your bank manager, it's almost like here it's everybody has a Hestor, and you have your bank manager, don't you? And branches are still a thing here, and as you say, I always say we have a bank which is our family bank, and Lara knows the manager, because I think if something happened to me, I'd like to know she was in the safe hands. And I think if you're moving over, that's just another sort of safety cushion if you can get yourself a decent bank manager. If God forbid something happened to one of you, at least you know that there's someone you can go in and talk to, who's got your back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's see, what else have I got on my list? Pets. Yeah, that's something to sort in advance. Vaccinations. You need certain vaccinations at a certain time scale before you leave, and I can't remember what those are. But yeah, check in advance. Maybe 6 months in advance. Check with your vet. Make sure that you've got all that lined up, because there's certain ones that you need to do just before you go, and that's another one of these things where if the timeline moves, you might be stuck in the wrong place.
Did you see my podcast about bringing a parrot over?
Yeah, I saw a bit of that. Yeah, that was
it's a cool podcast. Check that out.
Yeah. And let's see, travel, anything else about that? Property, kind of gone through a lot of this, I think. I did put a note here saying you can't escape your bad mental health by moving. It's the same when you move house or you change a job. You think, well, if I do that, if I change my circumstance, my situation, then I'll feel better, I'll feel happier. But actually, no, what you need to do is sort out your mental health first, and then you'll be happy whatever you're doing, and you'll be in a better position to be able to do that. Don't think that by moving to Spain that's going to cure you of any problems that you have there. Yeah, that's my psychoanalysis for the day. That's everything I've got written down from the human angle, I think. Yeah, everything.
That's all that I had written down here. I mean, as you say, it'd be interesting to get somebody on who could talk about the psychology of moving. It's something that fascinates me when you see a lot of the time. I see it from a third party point of view, don't I? Between administrations, people moving over, the various stresses of people and stuff like that. And it's the biggest thing is the prioritization. And when you're talking to people, it's because, and we all do it in our lives, so, my biggest priority at the moment is I'm going to run and grab the whole family a pizza because it's a bank holiday and get them home, get them fed. That's literally is my priority when I leave here now, but it's not a life priority, is it? But it is at the moment,
Yeah.
Whereas and when you're going through the NLV, a lot of people focus on the wrong priorities. And we're constantly having that conversation. I'm going, don't worry about the acro. Yeah, but I need it. Don't worry about the acro. The acro is not your priority right now because we know that's going to be okay. Yeah. So obviously that's what we're there for with the clients. But sometimes you get very personal levels, and it's really hard to say, well, I don't think you should be prioritizing that at this point. But then that's close to somebody, you can't say it. So its priorities is something that are going to completely change during your move, and something you've got to be aware of.
Absolutely, yes. Very good point. Now, before we get to the goodie bag, I told you about this. We had a question from social media from Susan McGee, who's one of our regular watchers, and this was: they're about to begin the third part of the NLV, taking them to years 4 to 5, after which, at the end of 5 years, they'll hopefully be permanent resident. Now, her husband has been successful in changing from a non-lucrative visa to a European visa, as he was granted an Irish passport. So she says, if I was to change my visa to become a dependent of that EU visa, When will I be classed as a permanent resident? Because presumably she'll get a TIE card, which will be like 5 years on from when she gets it, the expiry date. So will that mean she has to wait the full 5 years, or can she get it at the point where she would have got it before she changed?
No. 5 continuous years of residency, you should be granted permanent residency. Okay, but you will. What happened is these, because you remember that these circumstances didn't really occur very often before. There would be no set law that says if this happens, this is what you're going to do. So you've got to look at the permanent residency, and after 5 continuous years, you should be able to apply for your permanent residency at that point. So if you go through the change process, you will be given a 5-year EU family members card. Okay, but when you get to the point where you've been here for 5 years, then you should be able to apply for your permanent residency. I think it's depending on the province. Obviously, the case will be individually looked at, and you may have a bit of a to and fro regarding the documents that you need to present, because there'd be no sort of provision in law as to, oh, hang on a minute, what if somebody wants to apply early, even though they've got a different type of residency? But yeah, you should be able to.
Brilliant. That's good. So if you have any more questions, Susan, then get in touch again. Brilliant. So
what I just on with her process, we've done about 3 of those now where we switched onto the EU platform, and what we found was obviously a lot easier to do it once the NLV is in the expiry period, so then you don't have to actually renounce your residency. It automatically, once approved, goes onto the EU platform. So sort of make your submission at the end of your residency with the NLV as an EU family member.
Excellent. So Anton K says, thank goodness for Skatz, Upsticks, and Antonio. Muchas todos hasta la pasta. Hasta la plata. That's a good one. Hasta la pasta. Until the pasta. Oh, until the paste as well. Pasta's another word for paste, isn't it? There you go. I know that from the
money.
And money, is it? The pasta?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mucha pasta.
Means money here. It's a slang for money.
Brilliant. I didn't know that. I'll have to write that on a post-it note and stick it on my wallet. There you go. So make sure you smash that like button into smithereens, my smashing friends. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. And it's time for the goodie bag. Who should we give goodie bags to today? Have you got any more fans left?
Oh, we've got loads of fans. Well, what have we got for the goodie bag today? It's all been organised today. It's all been organised. We've got a member of staff organised it all today.
Brilliant.
So
yeah, member of your staff.
pass us a fan. Pass us a fan over. So who are we going to give it to?
Is Ray Jessup? Are you on? Are you still on here? He asked the question well over half an hour ago, so I don't know if he's still here.
There we go. We've got some fans.
Look at this. The special design on those fans, aren't they fantastic?
Look at that.
Put a signature on one, and then the lucky winner can sell it to millions.
Oh yeah, I could sign it. Let's sign it. There you go.
Signed. Well, that makes it extra special.
Signed fans. There we go.
Like every 10 fans who sign one makes it better.
You reckon that's a good idea? Not quite Mr. Beast, but we'll get there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
might as well.
Yeah.
It might as well. That's another good fright. We should get that on t-shirts.
It might as well. Might as well.
Yeah. What could go wrong? That's another one. You can put that on the back. Might as well. What could go wrong? Yeah. Patrick O'Connell, has he got one? He's over in Bolivia. Can he send to Bolivia and Australia? What about...
I'll tell you what we could do. We could try and send one to Bolivia.
Yeah. Let's try sending a fan to Bolivia.
In the post and seeing if it gets there or not. We got a rejection. Do you remember we had to send one to the United States?
Yes.
Yeah, so we took it. This is a big story behind this. We took it to the post office. All right. And the guy started feeling the envelope and went, that's not documents. I went, it is a document. It's just a funny shaped document. He went, it's not. And they wouldn't accept it. So we brought it back to the office. We put it in one of our folders, okay, along with one of your magnet things.
Yeah.
Took it back and went, there's some documents to send. He went, oh yeah, that's documents.
Brilliant.
So that was it, really.
Brilliant. So
every 10,
yeah,
you do your signature. Every 100, I'll do mine.
Okay, that sounds good.
yeah, because yours is much more special.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brian in Brisbane, if you're still on, send us your address to YouTube at upsticks.es. And Patrick O'Connell, send yours, and we'll see if we can get one to Bolivia. That'll be lovely. I think everybody else has had something. Paul Cook. Has Paul Cook had anything?
Paul has. I'll send
Paul
him a
has.
fan though. If he hasn't got a fan, Paul, I'll send you a fan. YouTube.
Yeah,
So,
lovely.
yeah,
You've still got his address, I presume.
I've still got 400 fans, I think.
Yeah. Anybody, if you want a fan, then write in.
If
There we
you've
go.
got a Spanish address, we can give you a better goodie bag. If you've got an address which isn't in Spain and outside the EU, I'm afraid you are stuck with a fan and a folder.
Yeah, there you go. But it's still very special.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have this week. Let's have a go. And so, can you keep a couple of bits for when we're down there?
Oh,
There we
we've got
go.
loads. We've
Of
got loads.
course. You'll have this massive bag full of fans. Okay, Brian says it's time for him to get some sleep. 3 a.m. now. Thanks again for this session. Yeah, then send the address. Oh, Ray Jessup's incompetent. There you go. Just send it to me. I'll get it to Ray. Yeah. And Kese,
Client relationship management system.
Okay, now you're just speaking gibberish.
Yeah.
yeah. So Paul Cook says, no, I haven't yet, as I never got round to sending it to Chris. There you go. Send the address then.
Send it across. We'll see what we can get to you.
Brilliant. Okay then. In a few moments, I'll tell you who my expert guest will be next week. But for now, let's give Chris a big virtual hug and a kiss and say goodbye for now. Enjoy your pizza, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with part 3 of this series. And yes, everybody wave to Raoul as well. And next time we will be talking about the 3 months leading up to your move, the crucial 3 months of actually applying, getting your appointment, getting your visa and travelling. So there we go. The scary bit. Yes. So we'll say goodbye for now.
Cheers.
That's up.
Bye.
So wasn't that groovy? Yes, of course it was. And who do we have on next week's show? I am very happy to say that we have the return of the excellent Andrew I keep getting his name spelled wrong. Hasselden, that's it, from the 180 Days in Spain campaign to talk about all of the latest developments with that, to explain what it's all about as well, because a lot of people don't know exactly what it's all about. Plus, he'll be talking, I'm sure, about the entry-exit system and what effect that's having on the membership and the changes in Gibraltar that are happening and have happened, and much more. There's lots. I think there's so much to talk about that he's been talking about on his Facebook page recently. In the meantime, keep your eyes on the Facebook group and the page, everyone, for any more details. And I'll see you on the Friday video that drops at 6 p.m. Spanish time. Have a look at the one that dropped last Friday that was all about the EES. It's been very popular, and I think it's probably gone through the roof. It was on very nearly 10,000 watches when I looked at it before the show, and I suspect it'll have gone through 10,000 by now. So have a look at that one. And let's just check on the live chat, see if we've got any more messages. Patrick says, unfortunately, there's no regular post over here in Bolivia. That's a shame. Just FedEx and the like. I'm sure he can. I'm sure he sends it over with not regular post. I think it goes with a courier. Send him your address anyway. YouTube at upsticks.es, Patrick, and we'll give it a try. I think it's worth a try, isn't it? What can go wrong? There we go. And oh, did he say, oh, have you got an address in Spain, Paul Cook? Yeah, send us your address in Spain. And Ray, are you actually in the village, or do you have an address at Todo? Are you in the Campo? Either way, you can send your details to me. I can get the things from Chris anyway. Right then, so if I don't see you on Friday, I'll see you next Monday, live at 6 o'clock Spanish time in the evening. Somebody pass around the non-lucrative visa cookies, peas and fluff, my friends, and I'll leave you all with a message from the voices in my head at U2 Spain. Bye for now. Wave goodbye, lads. Bye.
Goodbye. Toodaloo.
Peace and love.
Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
One more cosmic dance?
All right then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver.
Let's dance.